Hello everyone. Today's books are going to terrify you. They are going to frighten you, as all good horror books should. But these ones are just a little bit weird, a little bit twisty. They have a little something extra going on that you don't normally see in the genre. And they're all very exciting, very terrifying, but in a weird kind of way, and I absolutely love that. But as a reminder, I have horror books for sale, and if you want to read any of the books you see on your screen, they are only $1 each at the link in the description. Don't forget to join my Patreon. There's only one tier. I already put up my first exclusive short horror story for the month on there. So if you want to read it, it is called Dead Man's Boots, written by me, of course, and you can read it right there on my Patreon. So be sure to check that out and see what other benefits you can get. And don't forget to pick up your Read More Horror t-shirt. Many colors and sizes available, and there's a link down below for that as well. All right, let's get started. So the first book I want to talk about today is called Freeburn. Now this one just came out yesterday at the time I'm making this video, so it's a brand new release. And this one is a fever dream of just disturbing, disgusting, weird horror, I guess you could say. I don't know how else to describe this. It's one of those books that's very hard to describe, but basically it concerns a couple who are in love, but their love is kind of weird and twisted as well, and they live in a compound separate from anybody. They're kind of held captive there. One of the characters, his name is 666, because that's the name they gave him. Now and throughout the book, we're not even sure if he was actually ever born, because they've been told that he is kind of an experiment of sorts, and they keep him on this compound. They keep him closely guarded by very cruel people, and every so often they take him away to a prison cell, almost like a jail cell, and they torture him and do horrendous things to him and kill him, actually. But he has this ability to come back from the dead, and he has this ability to heal himself from his wounds, and it's just a lifestyle he knows. Now his girlfriend, this other girl that's there, she's also on the compound, but she is a psychopath, kinda. I mean, she has been abused at the hands of these people also. She's been sexually assaulted several times at the hands of these people. And she expresses herself in outbursts of extreme rage and extreme violence and extreme bloodshed. And when they decide to escape that compound, when they decide to get away from their captors and go to the outside world, things are going to get very, very violent, very vicious. And yeah, you're just going to have to read about it. I mean, some of the scenes in this book are going to be seared in your head. Like I said, it's like a fever dream of nightmarish violence, and I just love that kind of thing, where it puts this author just put herself out there, and this book succeeds in a very, very horrifying way. Like I said, it's really hard to describe. Like if somebody said, well, what's the book about? Oh man, it's about a lot of things. But what I told you is the basics, and that's all you need to know. The rest you should go in blind, because it's absolutely fantastic. I love this book, and of course I highly recommend it to you, and you can pick up your copy at the link in the description. Oh, and next we have The Maw. Oh man, this is a novella. Now this one's not coming out until later this month, March 29th or 28th, I believe. But there is a pre-order link in the description, and you absolutely should get this one. It's a novella, like I said, so it won't take you long to read, but I love the concept. It's a small town, and on the back end of this abandoned mall in this town is where all the high school kids hang out. It's a meeting place for the kids, you know. They make out, they drink, they do things that they wouldn't be able to do in front of their parents, you know. They all get together. The social hierarchy is in full effect and everything like that. A high schooler who's kind of the king of the high school, at least he thinks so, and his younger brother looks up to him. But one day his older brother takes him to this party in the back of this mall where only high schoolers are allowed. And this kind of puts him in with the cool people because he's going to be starting high school the year after. And so he looks up to his big brother, and he reckons his big brother's kind of passing the torch to him to be the cool kid in the high school. And this book is about their relationship. But one day, something changes in the back of that mall. All of a sudden, on the wall in the back, there is this giant human mouth attached to the wall, standing wide open, teeth and a tongue, and as far back as they can see is nothing but darkness and blackness. Like, it doesn't seem to go anywhere, and it's impossible because it doesn't go into the mall. They check around the other side of the mall and they don't see it. When they go outside, it's there. Now this mouth, this maw, doesn't do anything. It's not actively chasing them or being malevolent in any way. But when they first encounter it, the big brother and one of their other friends and they kind of have a conflict. They're messing around by the mouth of this thing, and the big brother kind of pushes this other kid into the mouth, and that's when the mouth closes, it opens back up, and that kid is gone. And everybody's freaking out. Eventually, even though everybody knows the mouth is there, the whole town knows the mouth is there, it becomes a tourist attraction almost. Well, it actually does. Somebody sets up a business. The owners of the mall that used to be there starts a business to make people pay to come and look at this giant mouth on the wall. But eventually, the older brother, he gets charged with manslaughter because a lot of people were filming it on their phones when it happened, and they have video evidence that he pushed this kid into this giant mouth, even though neither of them knew what it meant, and he's saying it was just an accident, I didn't mean to do it. But then this book is going to take a weird turn, because while he's waiting for his trial to happen, we're going to see how he kind of blows it off. Like, it's no big deal to this kid being charged with manslaughter. But his brother, his younger brother, suffers the most because people all of a sudden don't want to be around him. They're whispering behind his back. They're taking out their hostility and their frustration on the brother, because the older brother, of course, is under house arrest and can't go back to school. And so they're all taking it out on the younger brother. But then his younger brother begins to believe that perhaps his older brother it wasn't an accident, maybe. Maybe he pushed this kid in with malicious intent. And come to find out, not everybody thought his older brother was a cool kid. That's something else that happens. He looks up to his older brother, but he gets the perception that other kids thought his older brother was just an asshole and they didn't really like him at all. So there's all these conflicting emotions between siblings going on in this book, and the background is this weird, out of nowhere giant mouth on a wall that doesn't do anything unless you or somebody else goes into the mouth, and then it'll just eat you, I guess. But where it goes, nobody knows. How it got there, nobody knows. And it appears that it's getting bigger and bigger over time, and so that's a concern. But this novella does a really great job of this relationship between siblings, with this giant mouth on the wall as the background, and I absolutely loved it. I highly recommend it, and again, you can pre-order it at the link in the description. And next we have Cutter's Deep. This one is kind of an urban fantasy / horror / weird kind of story, because Cutter's Deep is like an abandoned town. It's almost like a ghost town. At least most people see it that way when they're passing through. But underneath that veil, it's very much a town that's alive, a town that's thriving, but it's also a very weird town. It has a lot of fantastical elements to it, including a giant pyramid that is said to have healing powers. But the only way to see anything other than this ghost town is to be wearing a pyramid necklace that representatives from the town hand out free to people at various like UFO conventions and various spiritual New Age gatherings, because that's kind of their bread and butter as far as tourists go. So they hand these things out at all these conventions and spiritualism and New Age kind of places. And the people in this town, we're going to meet the people in this town. They live by a whole different set of rules than the real world. There's something there that happens every night where they warn people, even tourists that are in the town, you have to stay in your room, otherwise you'll probably die. And every morning there's a reset. But there's a very specific reason why they're letting people into this town. And a lot of people disappear from this town, but nobody ever finds them because, of course, to the outsider, this town doesn't exist. It's just a ghost town. So there's a lot of weirdness going on there. There's a lot of and there's a lot of twists and turns in here, because what's really happening, we are going to be privy to as the reader. But the other people who are going in trying to find answers, they are not going to have that same knowledge. And there's a guy in town, and his father his father's kind of a bigwig in town. His father he can shape-shift into a horrifying supernatural creature, but he also runs the hotel in town. He works the night shift there, and his son, he works there during the day, but he's grown up under these rules and under the council, which are the people, the heads of different clans and cults and things that run this town. They form this thing called the council, and they have final say over everything. And they're trying to bring the old guardians back to life. And it's just weird, and it's out there. And included in this council are the leaders of groups. They have vampires, they have werewolves, they have witches, they have people that worship fire, they have people that worship a sea monster out there, you know. And the heads of all these groups make the decisions within this town. So you have all that stuff going on while the son is starting to discover secrets about his town and starts believing things that he grew up, that he was sure of, but now he's kind of disbelieving of that, because he kind of falls in love with this outsider, which is forbidden in the first place. But he meets a girl there in the hotel, and her parents are horrifically killed, but they fall in love, and so he's trying to teach her about his world, and she's trying to teach him about the real outside world, and so there's that romantic angle. Yeah, it's all going to come together wonderfully in this horrifying, fantastic novel. You definitely want to read it, and of course I highly recommend it, and there's a link down below where you can pick up your copy. And as always, I want to say thank you for taking some of your time and spending it here with me. And until we meet again, keep reading spooky, my friends.